welcome everybody. It is January 19th, 2022, 3:04 p.m. I'm calling to order this regular meeting of the San Francisco Elections Commission. Secretary Delgadillo, would you please call the roll?
Would you like me to do instructions first?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay,
All the
that's
instructions for the remote meeting. Someday I'll
Okay.
remember that.
Thank you, Madam President. The minutes of this meeting will reflect that due to the COVID-19 health emergency and to protect Commission members, city employees, and the public, the meeting rooms of City Hall are closed. However, Commission members and staff will be participating in today's meeting remotely. This precaution is taken pursuant to the various local, state, and federal orders, declarations, and directives. Commission members will attend the meeting through WebEx video conference and participate in the meeting to the same extent as if they were physically present. Public comment will be available on each item on this agenda. Each member of the public will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Comments or opportunities to speak during the public comment period are available via phone call by calling 415-655-0001. Again, the phone number is 415-655-0001. Access code is 2490-652-9204. Again, 2490-652-9204. Followed by pound sign, and then pound again to join as an attendee. You will hear a beep when you are connected to the meeting. You will be automatically muted and in listening mode only. When your item of interest comes up, dial *3 to raise your hand to be added to the public comment line. You will then hear, "You have raised your hand to ask a question. Please wait until the host calls on you." The line will be silent as you wait your turn to speak. Ensure you are in a quiet location. Before you speak, mute the sound of any equipment around you, including television, radio, or computer. It is especially important that you mute your computer if you are watching via the web link to prevent feedback and echo when you speak. When the system message says your line has been unmuted, this is your turn to speak. You are encouraged to state your name clearly. As soon as you begin speaking, you will have 3 minutes to provide your public comment, 6 minutes if you are on the line with an interpreter. You will hear a bell go off when you have 30 seconds remaining. If you change your mind and wish to withdraw yourself from the public comment line, press *3 again. You will hear the system say you have lowered your hand. When the phone is not available, you can use your computer web browser. Make sure the participant's side panel is showing by clicking on the participant's icon. Make sure the participant's panel is expanded in the side panel by pressing the small arrow indicator in the panel. You should see a list of panelists followed by a list of attendees. At the bottom of the list of attendees is a small button or icon that looks like a hand. Press the hand icon to raise your hand. The host will unmute you when it is time for you to comment. When you are done with your comment, click the hand icon again to lower your hand. Once your 3 minutes have expired, staff will thank you and mute you. You will hear your line has been muted. Remember, public comment instructions are listed on page 4 of the agenda. Public comment may also be submitted in writing to be shared with the Commission after the meeting has concluded and will be included as part of the official meeting file. Written comments should be sent to elections.commission@sfgov.org. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Would you please take the roll?
Sure. President Bernholtz.
Here.
Vice President Jung.
Here.
Commissioner Namogi.
Here.
Commissioner Jordanic.
Here.
And Commissioner Chappell.
Here.
Okay, with 5 members in attendance, we have met quorum.
Thank you. So item number 2, general public comment. Public comment on any issue within the Elections Commission's general jurisdiction that is not covered by another item on this agenda. Is there any public comment?
I don't see any hands raised from the public.
All right. Seeing none. Okay, item number 3, discussion and possible action on resolution on continuation of remote elections commission meetings. There's the city attorney memorandum on this, and the draft resolution. Can I get do we need to vote and pass this? I'm sorry, I'm a little rusty today. We have to agree to accept this resolution today?
So moved.
Thank you. I get a second?
Second.
Is there any public comment?
No hands raised.
Call the roll.
President Bernholtz,
Yes.
Vice President Jung,
Yes.
President Mogi, I'm sorry, Commissioner Mogi,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordanek,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chapel.
Yes.
Okay, with 5 in the affirmative, it passes.
Thank you. Item number 4, approval of minutes of previous meetings, discussion and possible action on draft minutes of the commission's December 15th, 2021 regular meeting. And I'll note that there's both draft minutes and draft revisions, or not proposed revisions to those minutes in the packet. Is there any discussion by members of the commission? Commissioner Dronick?
Yeah, for people that didn't read the document I attached, it was just because I noticed the discussion around the newspaper article was saying it was the reporter that we needed to talk to, but it was actually the sales representative. So it's just to fix that.
Thank you. And I think we should consider those revisions as part of the minutes.
Move to approve the draft minutes with Commissioner Jordanek's change.
Thank you.
Second. Yep.
Thank
Second.
you. Any public comment?
No hands raised?
All right.
Okay. Yes, I'll call. President Bernholtz,
Yes.
Vice President Jung,
Yes.
Commissioner Mogi,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordanek,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chapel.
Yes.
Okay, with 5 in the affirmative, it passes.
Great. Thank you. Item number 5, Commissioner Mogi's term has come to an end. Discussion and possible action on this. I, as a colleague of Commissioner Mogi, simply want to extend my gratitude and appreciation for your service. You've been a wonderful colleague, and I very much appreciated your guidance as I took over from you as president. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to say to the commission or to the public, other than, and let me again extend my gratitude and thanks for your service.
Thank you, President Bernholtz. I will, my term has ended, and I do think, we've been short on our commission, and I don't know if I'll be able to find an appointment by next month. And if it doesn't, then I would, gladly stay up to the 60 days. So it would be, and my last meeting would be next month in February. I also will, I won't be seeking a second term. And so this will be my whole, I don't know if it'll be my final meeting, but if it is, then, I really appreciated. I've learned so much, and, I've also just even more proud to know that the city runs such a great election. And it's been such a joy to work with each and every one of you, and with Director Arns, and with the different deputy city attorneys and our secretaries that we've had. It's been such a joy. And so I'm definitely sad to be leaving. I also have like other personal things that are come up that I won't actually be able to even stay on the commission. So I will only be serving. I'm glad that I've been able to serve my full term. And I hope that we can find a great replacement from the district attorney's office. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Mogi, and we wish you all the best. And yes, we are desperately in need of appointers to make appointments. And also, I think it would be wonderful if we could count on you through the February meeting. I'm highly skeptical that we'd have a replacement appointed in that time. But certainly understand if that's not possible. Deputy City Attorney Flores, is there any official something we need to do with that expectation?
In terms of, you mean like voting for her to stay on the holdover
No, I
term,
mean, just
or?
anything, just if we expect Commissioner Mogi to attend the February meetings, or there may be meetings between now and then, is there any action we need to take her?
No,
Okay,
no, it's just a holdover that you know, comes and then passes when the time lapse. So hopefully we'll be able to find a replacement, a new appointment by then. But if not, then that means that the commission will have to continue without an appointee from the district attorney's office.
okay.
That places us
Any
in
other
a tight spot. I think pragmatically what that means is that because we're a 7-member commission, and if we lose Commissioner Mogi without replacement after February, then all 4 remaining commissioners will need to be in attendance for us to have quorum at any regular commission meeting.
That's right. Yeah, we're in a tight spot. I have discussed, with the city attorney's office, anything I can do to try to encourage appointers to make appointments. They've assured me that the city attorney's office is working on it. I don't know if there are, we've discussed this several times, any kind of outreach or anything that can be done to the other appointing bodies. We'd be happy to do it if we think it's allowable and would make any difference. Commissioner Giordano?
I know many years ago there was a period of time, like maybe over a year, where the Board of Education didn't appoint someone. And I know back then that I think we had voted to authorize the president to write a letter to the Board of Education, just like emphasizing it to them. But that's just something I remember we did in the past.
Well, I'd be happy to do that. I believe we have the city attorney's office, the district attorney, and the school district are the current appointing authorities whose seats are vacant. If we think it'll make any difference, I'm happy to do so.
As you know, like the school district and the school board are going through their own challenges in leadership, including a recall election. And so I think that even if a letter goes based on the election, their leadership may or may not change. And so I just think it's like it's been continuing to be a trying time for the district side. And so I mean, I think a letter would be helpful. So there's something on the record, and that they know that they should make an appointment whenever that there is an opportunity to. But I also know they have their own process, and so unlike other appointing bodies, they would have to be, they listen, they collect applications, and then they hear it in rules committee, and then they vote on it. So it will take a couple months. So maybe it might just be worthwhile to just send a letter out. I can send you any contacts that you need to. I think it might be helpful to let like the superintendent know and the staff know as well, that support the Board of Education. So.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Giordano? I think you're muted, Chris.
Sorry, this is a question for Deputy City Attorney Flores. Can President Bernholtz just write a letter on her own, or do we need to vote to authorize her to write such a letter to the school board?
No, I think it is within her discretion as the president of the Elections Commission to reach out to entities on behalf of the commission without a vote.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, well, I would support such a letter then.
Okay. Is there anybody who has concerns about me doing so? I would suggest that I do it to the 3 appointing bodies simultaneously. I see heads nodding. All right, I will take that action following this meeting. Any other discussion then of Commissioner Mogi's term before I turn it over to the public?
Thank you for your service, Commissioner Mogi.
Thank you.
Any public comment?
We do have one caller on the line. I will go ahead and mute them now.
Unmute them.
Caller, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Commissioners. It's Brent Turner. Just wanting to associate myself with the comments of Commissioner Bernholtz and thank Commissioner Mogi for her service. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. And we're lucky that we'll get you back for another month. All right.
And that's it, but I am going to have to clear the hands up, so it might mute everyone. Just a warning. There we go.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on. Election of commission executive officers, discussion and possible action to elect a commission president and vice president per Article 5 of the commission bylaws. Per the bylaws, the term shall begin immediately at the conclusion of the meeting. And then it goes on to list the appropriate procedure. I will open nominations. Any commissioner who wishes to nominate a candidate for president will state the name of that person. If the person agrees to run, then that person is nominated. When there are no further nominations, president closes the nominations and a roll call vote is taken. Nominee must receive 4 votes or more. So I will open nominations for position of president of the commission. Commissioner Jordanek.
I guess it probably makes sense to ask, like, is anyone willing to serve as president next year?
I am.
Okay, then I'll nominate President Bernholtz for another term.
Unless Commissioner Jung is ready to take the lead. But I would highly support also President Bernholtz to continue on another term.
So would I. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
yeah.
I second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Hello, Mr. Jung's sidekick.
He's voting.
Yeah.
So I won't be nominating anyone then. Right.
Okay, so if there are no further nominations, we call for a roll call vote.
President Bernholtz, how do you vote?
I vote for President Bernholtz.
I do too. Vice President Jung?
Yes, I do too.
Okay. Commissioner Jordanek?
President Bernholtz.
Becca Chapel? Sorry.
Yep. For President Bernholtz.
Okay. And for who? Commissioner Mogi. There we go.
I'm still
so
here.
Sorry.
Oh.
I know. I'm sorry.
Wow, I just been already left.
I don't want to
yes,
see you.
for Commissioner Bernholtz as well.
Okay. So with 5 who are recommending President Bernholtz, she's appointed. Is that appropriate?
I guess so. Thank you very much. That's fine. Thank you. My pleasure to serve. We use the same process then for vice president. So we need nominations for vice president.
I nominate Commissioner Chapel.
Yeah, I am happy to accept that nomination.
I second
that nomination.
Oh,
So, who's the official seconded?
I didn't hear. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Commissioner Mogi said. I seconded it, but I'm not even sure that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
No, we second at the same time, so that's why I think Secretary Delgadillo is confused. You can
Okay.
second it. It's fine.
Are there any other
Okay.
nominations for vice president? Seeing none, you can take the vote, Secretary.
Okay. President Bernholtz,
Yes, I have a vote for Commissioner Chapel.
I'm sorry.
I see your
I'm
hand
sorry.
in the-
Is there did I miss public comment before the vote?
Oh, I thought we were just doing both and then doing. Oh, we have to do it for every vote.
Before the vote. Oh,
Before the vote for president and vice president, that's not, it doesn't say that in here, but okay. So do we need to undo the vote for president?
my apologies. I'm having technical issues with childcare. The realities of COVID.
If she could help us too.
Yeah,
that'd be-
maybe they know the answer. Do they know the
Okay.
answer?
Apologies.
So do we need to take
I-
public comment prior to and redo the president vote?
I think
Yes.
your technical problems have a name.
Yes. Before you vote on whatever action you are going to take, then you should take public
Okay.
comment.
Okay, so we will cancel out that vote for president and turn to the public for any comment on the nomination of Commissioner Bernholtz for president.
okay, we do
But-
have one.
I think the most appropriate way would be to rescind the vote.
Rescind the-
And yes,
Okay.
and then to take another vote, and then take another stab at public comment before actually making a vote.
Okay, so I officially rescind the previous voting on the presidency, and I'm opening it up for public comment on the nomination of Commissioner Bernholtz to be president. Is that
Take
accurate?
comment on both at once, since we already did second, or no?
Yes, you could do public comment on both. You
Okay.
just before you make the vote, before you take the action, you should have public
Got it.
comment.
All right, so public comment on the nomination of Commissioner Bernholtz to president and Commissioner Chapel to vice president. Secretary Delgadillo, you can take public comment now.
Okay, we have one caller on the line. Caller, you are unmuted. You have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
David Pilpel. See, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm late. Stuff happens. We couldn't get to Costco and back in time. You may need to take a vote on a motion to rescind and then vote again. In any event, I'm still supportive of President Bernholtz. 4 more years, and Commissioner Chapel for VP. Doing a fine job. I will shut up now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Pilpel. City Attorney Flores, is there something different we need to do?
You can vote on the motion to rescind. I don't think things are going to change.
Okay, all right, cover all our bases. I will make a motion to rescind the previous vote that was taken on the presidency for Commissioner Bernholtz. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
All right. I don't need to take public comment now, do I? Okay. Can you call the vote, please, Martha?
Sure, this is to rescind the motion. President Bernholtz,
Yes.
Vice President Jung,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordanek,
Yes.
Commissioner Mogi,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chapel.
Yes.
Okay. So, and we have a motion on the floor for the presidency of Commissioner Bernholtz and the vice presidency of Commissioner Chapel. Is there any other public comment?
No hands are raised.
Is there any other commissioner discussion? Can you call the vote, please, Martha?
Sure. President Bernholtz,
Yes.
Vice President Jung,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordanek,
Yes.
Commissioner Mogi,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chapel.
Yes.
Okay, with 5 in the affirmative, it passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the Vice Presidency, Commissioner Chappell. Thank you very much, Commissioner Jung, for your service. Per the bylaws, these terms begin immediately at the conclusion of this meeting. All right, item number 7, open source voting. Discussion and possible action on open source voting, including the pilot submission process. The attachments include the draft pilot program plan and attachments. I wanted to open this item by thanking Director Arntz for the department's work on this. I found the submission to be extremely both detailed and highly understandable. I appreciate the amount of work that's gone into this. My understanding is it has in fact now, has it now been submitted to the Secretary of State? No. What is where are we in the actual process?
No, so this is the current draft of the plan. You requested at the last meeting to see a draft before I submitted. So this is that draft.
Right.
It's not done yet. I still have to put more information in there around the timing of the ballot production. But this is mostly done, and this is really for your review, I guess, and for any comments you have on it.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you. Are there any comments or discussion from the commission? Commissioner Jordanek.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let people know what happened at the board. On Monday, January 10th, the board's rules committee met and they approved the legislation 3-0. And then it went to the Board of Supervisors the following day. And they passed it on first reading 11-0. And then they have to vote again, which is going to be next Tuesday for what's called second reading. It's the final reading. And because there was no board meeting yesterday because of Martin Luther King Day holiday. And also the legislation has 6 co-sponsors right now. It's kind of like co-author, sort of like that. And I did have, and also I'm also very happy with the work that you did, Director Arntz. I think what you put together looks great. So thank you very much for your work on that. I had one question on the materials, Director Arntz, and it's just kind of a question, but I noticed the remaking process. I noticed that you use the ballot marking devices to remake the ballots. Is that something that you've always done? Did you used to do it onto the normal hand marked paper ballots and then?
So since we've had the ballot marking devices, we've used those for remaking, because it allows us, we don't have to order the what we call duplicate ballots. We don't have to guess at how many ballots we would need for the remake process. So if we could just use basically copy paper for those ballots for the printouts, that's why we use the ballot marking device for remakes.
Okay, great. So that was my only question on that. Thank you.
Any other commissioners' questions? I don't see any. I also had a question about the remaking process, but I think what you just discussed covers it. No, I don't have another question. So if there's no other questions from the commissioners, we can go to public comment.
We do have one caller. Oh, okay. So we now have 2 hands. I will unmute the first one. Caller, you have 3 minutes to comment.
Good afternoon. This is Jim Soper from the National Voting Rights Task Force. And this is in part connected to something that will come up on item 9, which is a letter from David Jefferson. But it's a very good example of why you want open source. And I keep on repeating this. It's not just for the source code. In this case, people are trying to get a hold of a security report of Dominion systems. And a court in Georgia won't let many, if any, people see it. And that's going to be in part because the system is not open source. We've seen this with previous lawsuits in Alaska with Diebold, and they always bring up the idea that this is proprietary information and you can't see it. Well, if we have open source, which I would encourage here that the commission assist this project forward, if we have open source, then a lot of problems drop away, not just looking at the source code and not just looking at who is programming these things. Yeah, there was in about 2003 a programmer named Jeffrey Dean who had 23 convictions for embezzlement, and he was programming the Diebold systems, and almost nobody knew. It's this kind of thing. When you do open source, by the way, when you submit code, the system generally lets everybody know who submitted the code. So that wouldn't have happened. So on many reasons, but I'll limit it to that, you'll want open source because then you can get access to a lot of information that the public can't see. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Soper. Any other comment?
Yes, we do have another caller on the line. Caller, you are unmuted. You have 3 minutes to speak on the open source voting.
Hello, Commissioners. Brent Turner calling. Just to again thank you all for your support of this effort. I think everybody now is aware of the volume of work that has gone into this effort, and now we see that overwhelming 11-0 vote again at the Board of Supervisors. And I think we have a magic moment here where San Francisco was so far ahead of this issue. Now it's becoming very clear to everyone with sort of a new angle on this. Naturally, we all recognize the issue of having corporations in control of the software that does the vote tabulation. But now we see the extra necessity of having this particular transparency in that it is now obviously crucial that we are able to show the losing party in an election that they legitimately lost. So with this system that's coming into San Francisco with open source, there will be no doubt in anyone's mind that is even somewhat rational. And of course, we know there's problems in our world, but with those of us that hopefully have some relationship to rationality, these systems will make it obvious that the loser actually did lose the race, and hopefully that will quell more civil unrest like we've been seeing in the last couple of years surrounding elections. So thank you all for your great work and your historic work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Is there any other public comment?
No other hands are raised.
All right. I don't believe there is any action necessary here. Director Arndt, you don't need any further direction from us on this. You're
Correct. So the board, after the board does a second reading on the ordinance next week, then I'm authorized to submit to Secretary of State's office, and I'll do so. My deadline is February 8th, and I'll get it in by then. So.
okay. And then, if I recall, we're all uncertain as to how long it will take the Secretary of State to respond.
Correct. And the Secretary of State still has to create regulations around the pilot program, so that still hasn't happened. And then in that process, I don't know. So I guess there'll be a simultaneous promulgation of regulations along with reviewing of this application. That's my guess.
Right. Okay. Great. Wonderful. Well, good work, everyone. Thank you very much. And thank you, Commissioner Jordanek, for your steadfast leadership on this. It's been impressive. Okay. Item number 8, budget meetings, discussion and possible action on proposed public hearings on the Department of Elections budget. We have to have 2 public hearings on the department's budget. And we are making a proposal within this action item to have the first of those be on January 28th, and we would convene the BOPEC committee, which you'll remember we also have to reassemble And then a proposal to consolidate our February regular meeting with a budget meeting to be held on February 14th. Any commissioner discussion or questions on this?
I have a question. So you're suggesting the second meeting to be on the Monday, not Wednesday?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Right.
So I guess we should be fine for that, but I not attend on the 14th because I have a mediation that day scheduled to go all day.
Got it. Okay, so we will then be running into quorum issues, although if Commissioner Mogi can continue to attend, we would require all the remaining 4 of us to be able to make that meeting on the 14th. Right now, does that pose any problems for the other commissioners?
No, I can, let me just double check. I'll definitely attend if it's on the 14th.
Commissioner Jordanic, does that work for you?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Director Arns just has a really busy week.
Yep.
I don't know if it's
Absolutely.
better that we ask you to show up the day before the election day or the day after. Like,
Right.
it's like.
I know.
Well, the 14th is a deadline for the hearing though on the budget.
Oh,
So that's why it's Valentine's Day as well, on the day before the election. That's the deadline. So
Yep.
that's
We
not
pushed
my
it
fault
as far
either.
as we could.
Yeah, exactly.
oh.
So in terms of the January 28th meeting, can I, I'm not quite sure what the verb is here, but request that Commissioners Chapel, Jung, and I round out that BOPEC. Obviously, any other commissioners are welcome to attend, but we can be considered the BOPEC team for the January 28th meeting to discuss the budget.
I'm very sorry to say that I'm about to be in a 6-week trial starting Monday, so I will not be able to do that.
Commissioner Dudonic, would you be able to serve?
What day of the week is that? Wednesday or?
The 28th is a Friday.
Actually, a Friday.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you so much. All right, so we have a BOPEC for the 28th with Jordanic, Bernholtz, and Chapel, and then a full commission meeting for the 14th. And appropriate public notice will be made as well. Thank you to those commissioners. Yeah, Commissioner Jordanic.
Actually, can I just ask, maybe Deputy City Attorney Flores knows, but are we resuming in-person meetings at some point? I thought I saw an email that said February, but it's kind of curious.
As far as we know, the status quo remains until the end of February, at which point the mayor can continue remote meetings or can allow all the public meeting bodies to meet in person, but it's kind of like a wait and see situation at this point.
Okay, so it's after February, if anything. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Any other commissioner comment on this item? Is there any public comment?
Yes, there is. We have one caller. Caller, you're unmuted. You have 3 minutes.
It's David Pilpel. Just to clarify, so for Friday the 28th, BOPEC, what time were you thinking of for that?
3 p.m.
Okay. And then commission on February 14th, also 3 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And then the regular commission meeting for the 16th would likely be canceled?
Yes, it would be consolidated with the 14th.
Got it. Okay. I think that works. And the materials for the 28th would be available earlier in the week for all of us to dig into. Fun, fun, fun.
Correct.
Okay. Looking forward to that. All right.
Thank you.
And we can take the day off on the 15th because there's nothing happening that day, right? Oh, sorry. Never mind. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Pilpel. Any other public comment?
We do have one more caller on the line. Caller, you're unmuted and you have 3 minutes to comment.
Yeah, hi, Commissioners. Brent Turner. Just to say, from the public's perspective, we appreciate this call-in capability, and the Zoom works well. So even after, if you go back into the public setting, maybe it might stay available to the public. Just a thought, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Is that the end of public comment?
That's the end of public comment.
All right. Commissioners' reports. Discussion and possible action on commissioners' reports on topics not covered by another item on this agenda. Meeting with public officials, oversight and observation activities, long-range planning for commission activities and areas of study, proposed legislation which affects elections. Do any of the other commissioners have reports? I do, but I'm happy to go till at the end. Commissioner Jordanek.
So I have 2 things to report on. One of them is I watched the January meeting of the Bay Area UASI to see if there was any talk of the internet voting project that we met about last month, and there was an agenda item that included an update on that year's projects, and I attached to the packet their document that was associated with that item. And it was interesting. There's a little bit more specificity on the changes they're making to the project, but what they're doing is they're using that $1 million to purchase mobile voting vehicles, and I think they're planning for 4 vehicles to, I guess, make it easier for people to vote from home. They could station those wherever they want.
Yeah,
And sure. And then the other thing is, this isn't my item or anything, but I wanted to draw attention to this letter that David Jefferson wrote to the commission. And President Bernholtz, were you planning on mentioning that? Okay,
yes.
then I'm hoping we can spend time talking about that.
Yep.
That's all. Thanks.
Great. I appreciated your inclusion of that document from the UASI, and I was curious, Director Arntz, if the city has ever used mobile voting vans.
No, we have not. We do bring equipment to voters if they request it. We also drop off ballots. We've got a very robust emergency ballot program. We don't have vehicles that we drive as mobile voting platforms, though.
Yeah. Is it a common practice, or a practice you're familiar with other jurisdictions using?
Some counties, yeah, they've got trailers. Some have, step vans. Yeah, it's not common, but it is something that counties utilize.
And specifically for people with disabilities, or for anyone?
No, usually it's for any voter.
Any other commissioners' reports? Thank you, Director Arntz. Okay, there are 2 items that I worked on between the last meeting and now. First was in response to the discussion at the end of the meeting in December. I sent a letter to Stephen Bennett, the salesperson from Dominion Voting, asking him to respond to the our interest in the quotations assigned to him in the newspaper back in November. Due to family health reasons, I wasn't able to get to doing that until just last week, but I sent the letter last week and I have heard nothing in response, so that's where that stands. The second item is are the materials that were forwarded to the commission and made available to the public that were submitted to the commission by Dr. David Jefferson regarding the lawsuit in Georgia. I've had several conversations about these materials with the city attorney's office and Director Arntz. There are a number of significant concerns here, but I will say that at this point, from the discovery that we've been able to do, primarily city attorney's office, and I'm grateful to them for their help, there are, first of all, some notable and important differences between the equipment that is used in San Francisco the equipment that it's used in Georgia and the way that equipment is certified or not by the Secretary of State's office, which is to say, the equipment we use here in San Francisco and throughout the state goes through a certification and review process by the Secretary of State, which does not happen in Georgia. And Director Arntz can speak with more specificity to the differences in the equipment. The other thing I'll say is, as I reviewed the materials and thought about the breadth of the implications, it seems to me that the appropriate office or jurisdiction, if that's the right term, to act on this, if any action is to be taken, is not San Francisco City and County, but the Secretary of State of California and possibly the Attorney General. And so my thinking to date, based on the information I've received from the City Attorney's Office, is that if this body seeks to take any kind of action to follow up on this and this information, which I should have opened by saying I'm grateful to the member of the public for sharing with us, I believe it should be to urge the Secretary of State's office to intervene, not to do so ourselves. So that's both a status update and a sort of sense of what I've learned over the course of the month since the information, or 2 weeks since the information was brought to our attention. Commissioner Mogi.
Thank you so much for having these meetings and having these conversations. I wanted to, I know last meeting when we did talk about, you know, about the letter that you would submit. So I really do appreciate that you followed up and submitted a letter to Mr. Bennett. And I know that the commission had different, including myself, like had just different opinion and approach. If he is completely unresponsive, then I would be open to having like, you know, a follow-up of some sort. But I just wanted to at least say that because I was strongly in disagreement with just bringing on someone publicly without engaging them on, you know, more on a personal level first. And so I just want to open that up to the commission because I know that I was the one who was like strongly opposed to just having him come to the next meeting as a next step. So
are you suggesting an additional letter or actually an invitation to appear before the commission given his silence?
You know, I'm just like not, I'm just like, I would just wanted to just say that I'm open to it. I know that other commissions have had stronger opinions, so I just didn't want to, you know, I don't want him to be just like completely, I mean, he did send it about a week ago. Maybe people do spend a little bit more time to respond, but I would at least just kind of like I wanted to voice that I would be supported to other engagement if the commission feels like it's important to.
Thank you. Commissioner Jurvanik.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on President Bernholtz, your report. For starters, I want to thank you for the letter you wrote. I thought it was a good letter.
Thank you.
And regarding the David Jefferson's letter, is that something that we can discuss today, like whether to write something to the Secretary of State, or is that something we would need to do at a future meeting?
No, I believe we could take action, or it's on discussion and possible action today. Deputy City Attorney Flores, am I correct on that? That if we wanted to take action of some sort to follow up on the letter from Mr. Jefferson, Dr. Jefferson, we could do so.
We are on commissioners. I do think that it would be proper based on the way that the agenda item is written, to take any action possible, which would include, writing a letter or forwarding the information or whatever the commission decides to do.
Thank you.
So then, yeah, since we can talk about it today, I would support writing some kind of letter to the Secretary of State asking for them to follow up and look into this on behalf of the counties in California that are using that equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of, well, let us know their findings or something.
Yeah. Other commissioners?
I'm supportive of that approach.
Just a letter to the Secretary of State. Yep.
I would be too.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to that effect?
I mean, I would make a motion. I guess the one thing that's not clear to me is like exactly what the letter should say. Is that something that we should just, you want to have full discretion on, or should we talk a little bit about what it should say today?
No, I would welcome the input of the commission. I should also say that I did respond to Dr. Jefferson and thanked him in email for his submission. All I had in mind, and this is just a starting proposal, was to essentially pass on the materials that Dr. Jefferson submitted to us with under the auspices of the commission, say this information has been brought to our attention. We are interested and concerned in it as we use similar equipment, not exactly the same, and that actually a brief scan on my part of the counties and jurisdictions in the state that use similar equipment is significant. There's a significant number of counties, according to the Verified Voting Foundation's website, which tracks all equipment use across the country, and that we feel this is something that the Secretary of State's office would be interested in, and we'd hope would investigate, possibly requesting information from the courts in Georgia, as the state of Louisiana has done. I don't know if there's more to it than that.
That sounds good. I think maybe the only other thing would be just to maybe specifically ask if they could provide some kind of response at some point.
To
So
us.
it's not,
So it doesn't just hang. A response
Yeah.
to us, yeah.
And then may I also ask a question to Director Ernst? Director Ernst, in a situation like this, is it normal? I mean, I assume Dominion already knows about this report, but is this the kind of thing where they would, at some point, like, I guess, contact you about it if they, I assume they're looking into it on their own, or how would that work?
I think they would report to Secretary of State's office. And then the state and the vendor would have conversations on how to approach the situation, especially if it involves security. So possibly something would come my way, but it would be after discussions with the Secretary of State's office.
I see. Okay. Well, unless someone else wanted to, I could make the motion to.
I do have one question, just thinking about this and may affect the motion, Commissioner Hrdonic, which is I have not reached out to Dr. Jefferson to ask him if he has also sent these materials to the Secretary of State. And if he has, that may just affect the wording of a letter. It might not cause us not to send one. If he has not, I would be curious as to why not, and if it would be something he would also want to be part of. So I'll just put that on the table for other people. I don't know if there are any ramifications of doing that that I'm not thinking of at the moment.
Being a part of in the sense of like signing it with us or something, or?
Well, I don't know how an individual signs something with a commission, but at least yes, somehow referencing that that's how this information came to us, and
Yeah, you could CC him maybe.
his CC him and his standing in the field.
Yeah, I would caution against having him co-write something because he is not a member of the commission.
Right.
And so I think that if you're writing the letter on behalf of the commission,
Right.
you should not have a co-writer or a co-author or co-signer, whatever you want to call it. The other thing is, you receive this as a public record. So sending this would not violate any rule because you received this as a public record from the public. And there's no indication in Dr. Jefferson's letter that this letter is intended to be a private letter.
Right. Well, would it be inappropriate to CC him?
I think that is a policy decision, not a legal question.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Deputy City Attorney. Does anyone have any policy inclined thoughts on whether to CC him or not?
I think I would say it's your discretion, but either way, we're gonna forward it to him, I'd imagine. But I think it seems fine to CC him. To me.
That would be, okay. I don't see anyone else with any strong opinions. Or if you are, you're keeping them to yourselves quite nicely. Okay, Commissioner Jordanic, you were motion ready, I believe.
Yeah, I move that we authorize President Bernholtz to draft and send a letter to the Secretary of State, which forwards the information that David Jefferson sent to the Commission, and asks that she look into this matter and provides some sort of response to us.
Seconded.
Okay, public comment.
We have 4 persons waiting. Caller, you are unmuted and you have 3 minutes to comment.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Great. David Pilpel. So some brief thoughts. I have not gotten into the detail of the letter and the attachments, but I think the motion is entirely appropriate. I think communicating with Mr. Jefferson may influence the content, but I agree that it should not be a co-signed letter, whether it's CC'd or just, a copy sent to him, I think is fine. But I think having something that's relatively vanilla flavored that just forwards it to the Secretary of State. Yeah, I was thinking about the Attorney General, but I think probably just sending it to the Secretary of State, forwarding it and saying that you received it. You would ask them to look into it if they choose to, and if they are able to provide an acknowledgement and response to the commission that would be a public record, because there may be issues that they need to examine that they can't or shouldn't disclose to you or to the public, and that there are a lot of things that could be implicated is what I'm saying. So it would be more in the way of a request to them to A, investigate, and B, to report back to this commission when they can, in a way that you could make public. That's my thinking, and I think you are in scope to do something like that on this agenda item, and I therefore support the motion. Thank you.
Mr. Pilk, before you leave, I have
Yeah.
been wondering about the Attorney General also. I'm just curious if you had any more thoughts on that.
Again, having not gotten into the detail of the thing, if it seems appropriate to you or a majority of the commission that too is an appropriate referral, then so be it. I mean, if there's something that you think may be worth their time to examine, then so be it. And if it turns out that it's nothing, or it's something that can be dealt with in a different way, then that's cool too. The point is, it's kind of like it's on them. It's not on you. It's not on Director Arntz. So I don't know if that answers. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
I am unmuting the second caller. Caller, you have 3 minutes to comment.
Good afternoon again. This is Jim Soper from the National Voting Rights Task Force. I have met Dr. Halderman a couple of times and have been following his career since he was a graduate student almost 20 years ago. He's meticulous, he's serious, he's a world-class security expert, and if he's raising red flags, you got to sit up and pay attention. This is not some kook out there. This is somebody that's very serious and knows what he's doing. Another point is that there's an issue of whether or not that system in Georgia is similar to what's used in San Francisco. I don't know. And it makes a difference, but we don't have that information. If they painted a different color, that doesn't matter. If it's, as it may be, a problem with QR codes, that matters, but that gets very serious. And we need to have experts look at this. Now, the Secretary of State, when they certify a system, they have a security review where they have specialists on non-disclosure agreements and so on. And I don't know if it's possible for them to do another review just on the basis of their doubts of the certification they have or what. But I think we do need to encourage the Secretary to follow up on this and find out what's going on, because we don't know, and that's not good. Thank you for your time and work on this. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We do have another caller. Caller, you are unmuted. You have 3 minutes to comment.
Yes, hello again, Commissioners. It's Brent Turner. I just have to share a few stories with you at this point. This is about where I came into this about 20 years ago, was dealing with the certification issue. Myself and a fellow named Jim March, we went to the district attorneys, the attorney generals, and all law enforcement people regarding the certification issue and consumer fraud issues. I'm disappointed that Steve Bennett isn't here today, and I hope he shows up because there's somebody that deserves to speak directly to the community at this time. And this, just to be clear, this certification issue is confounding to many people. The father of the certification process is a fellow by the name of Roy Saltman, who sat on my board years back and was very clear that the certification process in the United States is a broken process. So this conversation we're having is about 15 years old. And it's due to the fact that we're still using proprietary software in voting systems. As long as there is proprietary software code in voting systems, you will not be able to properly certify or quality assure the voting system. So that's what we've got now. The system we're using in San Francisco may be slightly better than what they have in Georgia, but it still is in the same category to be disqualified. The work that you're doing making a new system is 1,000 times more important than the conversation about talking about breaking the old system. There are makers and breakers in this arena. The work that you're doing toward the solution is historic and crucial. This conversation I appreciate, but just to put it into context, we've known for 15 years that the proprietary code systems don't cut the mustard. They're not up to appropriate security level and standard. So the work that you're doing, creating the solution for the country, is really the essence. What Halderman says is correct, but he's saying the same thing that's always been said about these systems. Again, back to Steve Bennett, that's unforgivable. What I've been reading in the newspapers and is something I think we need to address, and I just believe you're on the perfect right track. Thanks again to everybody for your great effort.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
We do have another caller on the line. I'll unmute you. You have 3 minutes to comment.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is David Jefferson. I'm the author of the letter, and I have been listening to your discussion. I really appreciate your considering it and your comments on it. I just want to add a few updates. In the first place, I have not sent this material to the Secretary of State. I do intend to. There isn't any reason other than time that I haven't done it. And I have been waiting for one particular event, which is that the Halderman report was received by Dominion executives, not just their attorneys, but actually the executives, I understand it, on December 10th. And so I wanted to wait until 30 days after that, because of the law in California, as I understand it, is that if a vendor comes into information that would cast a doubt on security issues in their voting system, they have an obligation to report it to the Secretary of State. So I wanted to wait until that reporting obligation is in force, which I think it is now. I assume I'm understanding the law on that correctly. A couple of other updates to the content of the letter. I wrote that the judge has not yet decided whether to grant the state of Louisiana's request for access to Halderman's report. The judge has since denied Louisiana's request for access. She wrote, besides a balance of the security issues that she was facing, her argument was also that Louisiana had other ways to deal with this, and she suggested, for example, that they might contact Professor Halderman independently of this court case. So that's presumably an option that the state of California might have as well. I don't know how much time Professor Halderman has to deal with this, but anyway, that was the substance of the judge's decision, which I can also send you and will send to the Secretary of State. The other update is that Fox News has filed a request to the court similar to that from the state of Louisiana. It's a little hard to imagine the judge granting the Fox News request if she denied the Louisiana request, but just note that that the press is getting interest in this subject, and it's only going to grow. So the longer the report stays secret, the longer I think the bigger I think the problems, public relations problems, will arise from it. And the last comment I wanted to make is that Halderman's report comes in two forms: a highly technical form and a redacted form. And I would suggest that if the commission or the Secretary of State does not want to ask for the full technical form, they might ask for the redacted form. The redactions were by Professor Halderman, and under his judgment as to what would be appropriate to release to the public, the judge has not yet permitted it to be made public, even in the redacted form, but one might ask for that. The usual practice is to redact for the public's purposes anything that would actually help an attacker construct an attack. But the implications of vulnerabilities and a successful attack, that kind of information is what we normally think, we in the security community normally think can be made public. So that's my update. And if you want to ask any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dr. Jefferson. I would ask you just a point of clarification on your understanding of Dominion's need to notify the Secretary of State. So there's a 30-day period which will have now passed. Would that notification be something that we or you as a member of the public or we as a commission would be able to know about? Or is that not something that would be?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure. Maybe Director Arntz knows the law on this better than I do. I don't think the Secretary is obligated to make this information public, and I don't know whether how Dominion would be expected to convey that. In other words, do they put their own spin on the material? I just don't know.
Correct. Okay. Director Arntz, do you know anything about this, or Deputy City Attorney Flores?
I don't know the process, no.
Okay. DCA Flores, I don't suppose you know anything about this?
No, I also do not.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
No,
thank you, Deputy City Attorney Flores. Commissioner Jordanek, do you have a question for Mr. Jefferson? Yeah, please.
Yeah, I have one question. You mentioned that the judge had told the state of Louisiana that they could talk with Halderman directly.
Yes.
But from what I was reading, that I thought the judge is not allowing Halderman to share his report independently with other jurisdictions.
That's correct. So the judge suggested that they separately commission and, pay Halderman or similar experts to do another investigation. But no, he is not authorized to release the report to anyone, including Louisiana.
But is he allowed to share some of the information that's in the report?
I think he's allowed to redevelop it on behalf of the state of Louisiana. I can send you and the rest of the commission the judge's decision if you're interested, and maybe you'll want to attach that, I don't know, to your letter to the Secretary of State. Maybe after this, if Commissioner Bernholtz is okay, can I mail the Fox News and the request for intervention and also the judge's decision declining Louisiana's request to you, and then you can do with it what you see fit.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Any other questions for Dr. Jefferson? Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention and for your attention to the issue, and we'll look for those.
Thank you very much for your attention as well. Okay.
Dr. Jefferson, are you on through your computer and your phone? Because I see two entries for you. Your hand is raised on both.
Yes, well, I am, but it wasn't clear to me whether I could have responded through WebEx, so I redialed in through the computer, but I'm still watching you on WebEx. I don't need to be recognized twice. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to make sure. We have no other callers raising their hands.
Okay, so if I recall where we were in the process, we had a motion on the table for a letter to the Secretary of State asking them if they're able to acknowledge and provide a receipt, provide a response for public record. We had a second. Any further discussion, or can we take a vote to authorize that action? I think we're ready for a vote then, Martha.
Okay. President Bernholtz,
Yes.
Vice President Jung,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordanek,
Yes.
Commissioner Mogi,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chapel.
Yes.
Okay, with 5 in the affirmative, the motion passes.
All right, thank you. There is still, I don't know if anyone wants any additional discussion of Steve Bennett. I don't see any. Okay. That's it for commissioners' reports then, I believe. Okay. Item number 10, Director's Report, discussion and possible action on the Director's Report. Thank you again, Director Arntz, for a very clear and complete report, especially given all that you're juggling. It looks like things are well in hand for February 15th and preparation for the possibility of an additional election in the one district. Is there anything you want to point our attention to in your Director's Report?
Not so much. I take any questions. So far, we've received 12,000 vote by mail ballots back from voters. So it's really the second day of the early voting period. That's a good number. And then also I want to thank the Department of Public Works for its very quick efforts to install the ballot drop-off boxes throughout the city. There's 34. And it's really amazing the work they did and how quickly they did it to get those boxes in hand, get their staff organized, get the resources put together, and then to secure the boxes to the sidewalk. So I want to thank the director and DPW for their efforts.
Beautiful. Any comments or questions from the commission? I was thrilled to see 2 ballot drop-off boxes in my roamings around the city. So
Yeah, I got to see them as well, and I'm curious to know, Director Arntz, if we actually know if you will be actually, like, I know in the past we knew how many people would come to the polling place, how many people would be submitting their ballots through the mail. Will we know how many people would be utilizing the ballot box? I just kind of want to know how well it would be like utilized this first round.
So we track the number of ballots received from each box for each
Okay.
day. So we have a running tally for each box as we go through the cycle. And so I can provide numbers at the end of the cycle or anytime during the cycle if you're interested.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Commissioner Jordanek.
Thank you for your report, Director Arntz. I had one question that may not be related to what's in your report, but I was watching one or two of the board meetings where they were discussing the allocating the money for the Board of Education portion of the election costs, and I think a couple supervisors were asking you about whether you had enough money for translation services. Do you remember that? And I was wondering, do you know what that's about? Like, are they looking to expand some kind of a service, or were they just wanting to make sure that you had the baseline needs addressed? Or
so those questions were in relation to the redistricting task force and not to the department. And so the question was whether the redistricting task force has sufficient funding to provide translation and interpretation services to people in languages other than English. And then in both instances, I respond that we do. And so far, I'm not seeing any reason to think otherwise.
Okay, so that was just limited to the task force and not to the department as a whole. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Anyone else? Great. Thank you, Director Ernst. All right. Item public comment on the director's report. Have we done that? Sorry, my fever's kicking in. Public comment.
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, great. Item number 11, discussion and possible action regarding items for future agendas. Anyone have any items for future agendas? This would be for the February 14th combined budget meeting, and obviously the budget will be an item. All right. Seeing none, I will report out on the actions authorized so far, and Martha and I will work on that agenda. All right, the final item for this agenda is the annual performance
Public
evaluation.
comment on that? Public.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, thanks.
Yes.
Public comment on future agendas.
Yes, we do have one caller. Caller, you are unmuted. You have 3 minutes to comment.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
David Pilpel. So just two quick items. I'm assuming that at the BOPEC meeting on the 28th that you'll also have the AB 361 findings, because I don't think BOPEC was included with the 361 findings earlier. And I just looked, I'm sorry I missed the beginning part of the meeting. I did have a couple of minor non-substantive edits to the meeting. If I can communicate those to Secretary Delgadillo, and if President Bernholtz can have final approval authority on those, totally non-substantive, just want to get names and format right. I hope that's acceptable. Otherwise, keep up the good work and happy closed session.
That's fine on the happy closed session, yeah. Director Arndt, AB 361, the January 28th meeting. Mr. Pelpel.
I think DCA Flores will help you with that.
Oh, okay. Great. All right, no more public comment. This item is closed.
No, we do have one caller who just raised their hand. I'm sorry.
Great. Welcome.
Okay. Caller, you're unmuted.
Hi, Commissioners. Brent Turner. I didn't know if you're going to go into closed session. I probably won't stick around unless you're going to have public comment before agenda item number 12. If you're going, I didn't know your process here.
Yes.
Are you having public comment before 12?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, then I'll wait for that.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So moving on to item number 12, the way this will work. Discussion and possible action regarding the performance evaluation of the Director of Elections. We will take public comment on this item. We will then vote on whether to move into closed session. If we so vote, we will go into closed session, and we will then have a discussion and possible action. We will then vote pursuant to the Sunshine Ordinance on what, if anything, we will make public from the closed session. We will come out of the closed session, reconvene an open session, reveal what, if anything, we decided to reveal, and we will then adjourn the meeting. All right. So is there any public comment on the annual performance evaluation of the Director of the Department of Elections?
We do have the one caller. Caller, you're unmuted. You have 3 minutes to comment.
Yes, Commissioners, Brent Turner regarding agenda item number 12. Just wanted to put in a word toward John Ernst from the public, although John and I have gone round and round on how fast and how hard we should push toward these open source election systems over the past many, many years. We are pleased that he is getting into the groove with this particular effort and the ability for us to get into a demonstration with Voting Works. I think it's great work that John's doing. I think the public is now appreciating his efforts. That being said, we still need, unfortunately, because of the gravity of this work, there still has to be complete oversight by the commission and a very strong, consistent oversight of this open source testing and trial. That's just the nature of this. It's not personal or that there's not trust, but because this is leading the country on maybe the most crucial issue of our modern times and our democracy, we really need to be paying strict attention. I know he's got a monumental a job in front of him that is almost unfathomable in its breadth, but we're still going to be hopefully rigid in making sure that this open source trial proceeds expeditiously and properly, as it really is the hallmark and the keystone of the work of the San Francisco Elections Commission. And again, mass applause from the public, not only locally, but nationally, for your work on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public?
I do see, I believe it's Mr. Pelpel whose hand is raised. I will unmute you. You have 3 minutes.
Yep, last time for today. So this year was supposed to be a relatively calm and quiet year and is turning out to be quite other than in the world of our local elections. And I think we are incredibly well served by a cool, calm, and collected department head such as Director Arntz. My positive thoughts are there as you go into your closed session to evaluate and scrutinize carefully his performance on behalf of the public. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other members of the public?
I believe that is still Mr. Turner's hand up. I'm going to go ahead and clear it. And I don't see any other hands.
Okay. Well, let me begin by saying first to Director Arntz directly, thank you for all of your work. It's been a pleasure and an honor to work with you throughout the year as president and throughout my time on the commission. I'm also very grateful for the very, very detailed report you provided to us on your the inner workings of the department and your leadership prior to our consideration. So, and I want to echo actually the comments of the last caller, which is that through thick and thin, it seems, you are a steadfast, extraordinary colleague, and I do believe the city and county is lucky to have you. So thank you. I don't know if there's any other commissioner comments. So we need a motion and a vote to go into closed session.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll, Martha.
Sure. President Bernholtz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice President Jung, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Dragonic?
Yes.
Commissioner Mogi?
Yes.
And Commissioner Chapel?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, with 5 votes in the affirmative, the motion passes.
Okay. Technologically, I don't believe we've had a closed session in Zoom times, so I don't know what, Martha, it's technologically yours. I don't know what the rules
Okay,
are here.
I'm going to take us back to practice session.
Okay, and we can. Okay, and we are back in open session, and the commission has decided to report that the action taken was for the president to synthesize the information for the director of the Department of Elections performance evaluation and provide that feedback to the director with all due haste. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody, and particularly you, Commissioner Mogi. Glad we got